Welcome to the Thought Leaders video blog, where industry executives share their insights and visions in today's landscape of live entertainment.
So Leah Beasley, Executive Senior Associate AD from Mississippi State, thank you for joining the Paculum Thought Leaders video blog.
Absolutely. I'm very happy to be here. Thanks for asking me.
Great. So how are things? I think we're getting out of week 9. So how are things in your household? How are you dealing with this quarantine? And have you found any silver linings while at home?
Well, I will say, no makeup, stretchy pants, those are the best for during COVID. But you guys have a treat today because I actually did fix my hair and put makeup on. So
Nice.
that is just for your viewing pleasure. I would say those are the silver linings. It's definitely different. We have actually been in the office a decent amount. Some of our executive athletic directors have been up here just to kind of try to stay connected. And it's just a little bit easier whenever you can and get in a group and socially distance. We are definitely several feet apart and have about a gallon of hand sanitizer in our conference room. But still, there's still a lot of time working from home too. So I know that my dogs have appreciated that. That's the reason I'm at the office right now, because they would be jumping into the screen. They when I'm home, they definitely want all of my attention as well. So I would say that's a little bit of how my family, my fur babies and I are managing at the house. So
Silver lining for them, for sure.
Exactly. They enjoy it.
Awesome. So tell me a bit more about how your team is spending time. Obviously, this is unprecedented and a unique year, to put it mildly. So how are you and your team spending your time? What are you looking at differently now versus previous years?
Absolutely. I think a challenge in all this is trying to just stay connected and stay motivated.
Mm-hmm.
We have an incredible external team here, incredible leadership and incredible exec staff, but specifically with my external team, that has definitely been it. We're so close. We're a very close knit external team, both physically located. I mean, they're right down the hallway. Some are right across the street in our creative suite. And so we get together often and we see each other often. So that's definitely been challenging, is to not be able to have that closeness. So Zoom calls are fun. I mean, they get the job done. But trying to find ways to motivate the staff and answer the questions that you're just not really sure about. I mean, our team, very patient. I share as much information as I can share from our executive calls, from our SEC calls. And so we're focusing on all the what ifs, of course, as everyone is. But it's also just, again, letting them know anytime I get a piece of information that affects them, hopefully they trust that I'm going to come right to them and share that, so that they can also share that with their teams, and we can actually try to remain efficient and productive. So a lot of our focus right now is still on content. Our fans, like many of us, that they may be bored at home. And so anything that we can do to brainstorm ideas, all of our external pods, all of our sports, creative and external teams are still meeting weekly. And so those groups are still coming out with a lot of these really cool ideas, but they're having to pivot and transition into the what ifs. And so that's what every question we ask ourselves is, can we do this? And if we can't, then what's our plan B? We go into a situation always asking ourselves, if something were to go backwards or come back to normal, are we ready then to pick up with our plans and pick up with the execution of those marketing plans? So they're just sitting right there ready to go. But a big focus of ours has been content and engagement.
Awesome. So speaking about content engagement, is there anything unique and specific that you've recently done that you're really proud of, or any unique ways that you've engaged fans while they're quarantined at home?
Yeah, so we have Maroon Friday is a big thing for us.
Yeah.
And although it's Monday, I'm repping the maroon today. So one campaign that we've kind of started up recently, or not started up, we do it every week, but we're having to find different ways to spice it up. And so we were asking fans to share their best moments, to share their pictures in maroon. What are they doing in maroon? We've asked all of our sport accounts. They're consistently posting those pictures. And
Right.
They're reminding fans. Another thing that we're doing is reminding fans of what it was like. And so we're pulling out archive videos. We're pulling out where were you when videos, these moments, just to remind our fans that these are the glory days, and we're going to get back to them. We're still in this together, and that there are silver linings, and that we're going to get back together too. So that's kind of what we're focusing on, is just video pieces, interviews. Luckily, we had a lot of really good assets in our bank with regards to different coaching, for instance, our football coach staff turnover, our new women's basketball staff. So a lot of those interviews we just piled up, basically. So now we're trying to find creative and strategic ways to disseminate that information from a lot of the content that we had previously, and different ways to get that out there so that it looks new and fresh, and that our fans aren't bored, quite frankly.
Awesome. Sounds good. So you mentioned scenarios, and I know that we're all grappling with the different scenarios and what do we do and how do we react when this unfolds. So what's your game plan? I'm sure you've got lots of scenarios, as everyone's talked about, but what's your game plan? Do you have a time frame in mind when you're looking to pivot and take action?
Right, absolutely. One thing that, well, I guess two things. I keep using the words positively optimistic. So that is what our team is right now, what our athletic department is, what our university is. So all of us are definitely optimistic about the future, and about being able to get back together, and get back to sports, get back to, to play. And so that's one thing that we're working for, and we're striving for, and that's going to be in all of our messaging to our fans. But number two, probably just as equally as important, is the I don't know factor. It's okay to say I don't know. You've read that. Different leaders in the athletic industry have stated that over and over again. That's one thing that our president, that our athletic director, and that the rest of us as our exec staff are trying to lead our teams, and just say it's okay to say I don't know, I don't think it's not okay to not be ready for the different scenarios. And so while some of the practices can be a little mundane or maybe futile, you've gotten into something and you've invested a lot of time into it, and then literally an hour later it changes, the landscape changes. So I think it's we're practicing patience in a lot of these, but we are continuously moving forward. We are practicing some different percentages of some capacity percentages.
Okay.
What our university is looking at from a university and student coming back to campus. And then we're taking, obviously, medical professionals' advice, and then state legislators' advice, and then our leaders of our university, whenever we're practicing these different percentages of stadium capacity. And we have a return to play working group, a small working group that several of us are on, and we have large documents that are working off of. I know every school is doing this, as to what if and how are we going to get fans back into the stadium. But on the flip side, how are we going to be sustainable? So we're still, we're trying to renew these ticket holders, and we're trying to show confidence and optimism that we will be back together. So it's kind of a campaign that's ever changing and fluid, as we all know. But in that campaign, a lot of what we're doing is focusing on that experiential based approach, and like kind of how our fans interact together, how much they love Mississippi State and Davis Wade Stadium with regard to football. So we're doing a lot of FOMO. I've said this in other groups, and we're capitalizing on that fear of missing out. We actually had that as our campaign for football season prior to COVID, and it's kind of just morphing its way as we go along. You'll see that on our social channels. Everything that we're putting out is moments based. Don't miss this. Here's how it used to be. Here's our Mississippi State family. We can't wait to get back together. Don't miss these moments in Davis Wade Stadium. Do you remember when Dak Prescott ran for this record? And then we have Dak Prescott in an interview that we took from him a few months ago, and we put that back out there. So a lot of it is, I would say, if I had to sum it up, in fear of missing out. That's what we're capitalizing on, because we don't want to. We all want to be back there together.
I can't wait. Fantastic. I love it. So, there's a lot of new engagement tools and technologies, right? The NFL draft was the most watched in history.
Yes.
I just finished The Last Dance with Michael Jordan. It was phenomenal.
Yep.
Streaming content consumption is off the charts. It's the highest it's ever been. So how do you leverage these platforms and these new engagement opportunities to keep your fans engaged while they're at home?
Again, I'm going to, not to sound like a broken record, but it is a lot of using what we already know our folks love. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel.
Mm-hmm.
We're using what our people love and what they want to see. So as you know, people are clamoring for engagement and content and the next video, the next quote, the next interview. And so we're taking all those assets that we have and we're putting those out there. So we're utilizing every platform that we have, and every means that we have. So from photography to using those photos. We use photos singularly. We use photos in graphics and really cool graphics. And luckily our folks have some time right now to be able to focus on that creative. I talked to our senior designer the other day, and he's talked before about just getting through what he has to get through. I mean, there's things that we're just piling on top of him in a normal setting. Whenever we're in spring sports and we're in postseason basketball, and then we're heading right into baseball and postseason baseball, and there's not a lot of time to get to sit down and just kind of have fun with different photos and players and mediums. And so he's getting to do that. And that's something that has been really cool to see what he's kind of been putting out, what he's been working on, because of the time that he has to be able to be creative. So again, using all the platforms that we have available to us, but being sure that, again, we're still trying to be strategic and looking at our demographics and what we're putting out on Instagram versus Twitter versus Facebook. Everybody does that. But how can we then utilize our incredibly talented video team, photography team, and graphic design team to then make kind of like a mecca of a post? If you look at some of our stuff, we have there's the audio piece, there's graphic piece, there's video piece, that are all in one post. And so it's kind of cool to be able to see what those guys can do with a little bit of time, a little bit of extra time that they have. So it's been fun to watch.
That's awesome. So you and your team are very well respected. You've won NACMA Team of the Year before. It seems like you've been a finalist a couple times there. So how do you keep challenging your team to always be innovative and think differently?
Yeah, I think one thing is the culture. In the hiring process itself, I hate to go back to that, but that is what we look for. So before anybody even joins the team, we have some stringent tests, I guess you could say. We want to know that they're a fit. We want to know that they understand that blue collar, bulldog, nose to the ground. We're grinding constantly. We're not letting up. That's one thing that we talk about all the time. We're not complacent. We're not going to be satisfied. We are so thankful for the words that you said about Mississippi State, but we're not going to rest on that. So it's our job to put Mississippi State in the best light that we can. And so going back to the hiring practices, we want people who want that too. They want to be at the top. They want their brand, the name of Mississippi State to be as big as it can possibly be. So I think it goes back to that culture. Are we doing our job in advance of having people join our team, that you know what is expected of you whenever you're on this team? So I think that's one thing big. And then I just stay out of their way. So I keep saying that all the time to folks, and they ask, I'm like, I just stay out of their way. They're incredibly talented. I trust them, and I just let them go. So after that, though, I think it becomes just fostering that sense of creativity,
Sure.
and the fact that there's never a crazy idea. I know that people say, oh, we're brainstorming, whatever, but if you're not taking those, and again, they're the creative ones, they're the ones coming up with that. And then it's my job to help facilitate what they would like to do. From a resource standpoint, from a fighting for it with the administration standpoint, sometimes there's some risk versus reward conversations that have to happen. There are a lot of ideas that we've gotten that, as I've gotten a little bit older, I probably have maybe not as I don't know, risk. I used to say like, oh, I toe the line. We still toe the line all the time. I love our team to toe the line, but I guess sometimes I've had to maybe pull back a little bit more. But I would never want to have to kick you in the butt. I'd rather have to pull you back. So I love that about our crew, is that they're constantly kind of listening to that and moving forward and saying, what about this? What about this? Can we do this? So I think that's something too, is just that atmosphere and environment of autonomy and creativity, and not being scared to try something new and even fail at that. I mean, we've had some of those too. So, and I think it's also feedback. So one thing that we do is we listen to our fans. Our team, I speak to every single team every year. And so I ask those student athletes when they're coming in, hey, if you guys are traveling or you see something on social media that maybe our team missed, let us know what those are. And maybe we can do that. Maybe we can do something that our student athletes want to see. We ask our marketing army, our marketing interns, that's their job. That's your job, is to research and to look at and to see what your counterparts and your friends in the industry are doing. And that's something that we could take and then, make a spinoff of that's specifically for Mississippi State and makes sense for our fans.
I love it. A license to innovate. Fantastic. So, speaking of innovation, there's a lot of things happening right now. There may be some adjustments. Do you see any changes that are happening now in the pandemic that may last in perpetuity and beyond?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think I kind of thought about this one in a couple different ways, like more of a broad level, maybe like a intangible level, if you will.
Sure.
I think that a lot of leaders are going to maybe focus more on communication plans, crisis management plan.
Oh yeah.
Are those ready? Are they ready, available? And do you know who you're going to give the information to next? Do you know who the information is coming from? And then do you know who's the next person that is going to be able to activate or respond appropriately to that information? So I think a lot of people are going to maybe dust off their crisis management hats and those communication plans and kind of have them at the top of the level and just have it be something that they're constantly communicating with their teams. Obviously, on the external side, our job is communication and messaging and how to get it to fans and student athletes and staff. From a game management perspective and operations perspective, and our sports medicine staff, their job is safety. Their job is taking care of the fans in the stands in the stadium. And so they have that all the time. They're talking about that, but you never know what's going to happen, obviously. We know through this. So that's more of an intangible that I think will kind of stay at the top of folks' list. But I think too, some more tangible things that I think I've seen here at Mississippi State, I know some of our counterparts across the league have talked about in our calls, and that's kind of using some technologies to, maybe for touchless systems.
Sure.
I know, again, it seems so very specific, but is it all mobile ticketing? Is it touchless, flushers, toilet, hand wash, a lot of schools have that, but some don't. I think that's something that we're definitely investing in. So I think that's something that is on a more of a small scale, more of a specific scale, but that I'll see will probably stay along for the long run.
Yeah, for sure. So you talked about technology. So fast forward 5 years in the future, what technologies do you think are going to get revealed in college athletics?
I think during this time, again, we talked a lot about engagement and consumption. Our fans just desire to consume more and more content. And I think that they're using, obviously, social media and any kind of digital media, social media, email, websites. So I think that any technologies that are kind of along those lines, we use a lot of form submits, of which Paciolan and Salesforce helps us. So thank you for that. But we use a lot of that technology, and it's through web, it's through email, and it's through social. And so I think that you're going to see a lot of those technologies grow and we're going to be using that a lot more. So any type of group or technology that can help assist that can be on the forefront of popping into a fan's mind and then being able to be readily available and easily steps they can follow to get more information and to get more content, I think is going to be right up there at the top. I think you're going to have some more platforms like Influencer, Open Doors. I think those are going to be big because our student athletes also are wanting that. They're wanting to post more. We've seen a lot of our athletes. We Mississippi State uses Influencer, and they are using a lot of their videos and photos that we dropped for them during their season, and because they're bored too, and so and they are their own brand ambassadors, and part of our job is to help build their brand. And so that's something that we've invested in here at Mississippi State, and I think you're going to see more technologies like that. We get new offerings from Influencer. I'm sure that Open Doors does the same thing, and where they're making deals. So with other groups, USA Today, Atlantic Records, stuff like that. So I think they're able to. We can use their partners too. So I think you're going to see a lot more of that growing as well, because our jobs, after all, are to serve our student athletes and to serve our fans. And one thing student athletes want is to see themselves out there.
As do fans.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So any way that you can make things easier for them to consume and then to basically disperse their own personal brands. I think any technologies that are along those lines are going to be good. So again, form submits from the side of just getting more interest and being able to then turn that into actionable data. I think your data teams, we've invested in the data analytics position, and then obviously working with analytic group. We work with Kaker, and so work with them, and then also obviously Salesforce for a lot of our data needs. And so I think anything that's going to be boosting that analytics side is going to be growing quite significantly in the next few years.
Yeah, 100%. Totally agree with you. So talk to me a little bit, Leah, about your leadership style, and has anything changed during today's current climate?
Yeah, I would say, again, I know going back to something we said before, but I think the motivation piece and listening to your folks. I've had to do a lot more listening. And I'm not saying I was an awful listener before, but it's just different when you're in the hallway and you're meeting with people and you're interacting with people. Now it's Zoom and it's phone calls. And so I'm really trying to hear what our staff's challenges are right now, and kind of what they're needing from me. It's not as easy for them to just pop in my office, obviously, but I think the listening is going to be is a big factor for us right now, and then motivating, like, what's next. If they do this, we all want to know, well, not what am I going to get out of it, but is something actual to go to? Am I actually helping someone? Am I helping myself? Am I helping my student athletes? Am I helping Mississippi State? So that's something too that I'm trying to remind our staff, and that I need a reminder of, and that John Cohen does a great job for us. Is this is what we're here for? This is a test of what we're here for. And so I think just listening to what their needs are, and then kind of trusting them to go and do their jobs and continue to serve. So, but then doing whatever you can do to facilitate that, and to actually kind of help them achieve what you've asked them to do.
Wonderful. Leah Beasley, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. Thanks for your partnership.
I love it. I appreciate it. And if there's anything I can do for you or the team, let me know.
Sounds great. Thanks so much.
Okay.
Thank you for joining the Thought Leaders video blog. And remember, everyone can step up and be a leader in their own way. We look forward to seeing you next time.